What's up, everyone? Welcome back. Alright, so continuing on with my 2021 year in review. Just basically going over different, aspects, given my overall thoughts of 2021, with regards to my, things in my personal life, but also with regards to this YouTube channel and whatnot. So, yeah, should be fun. Either way, let's get this motherfucking party started. Okay, so this time I'm going to get a little bit serious with you guys. I know I don't do that very often, but there was a story of something that happened to me in 2021. It's a true story. And I'm not particularly proud of this in any particular way whatsoever. But I feel like I want to tell you guys about my experience, so that way hopefully you guys learn from my mistakes and don't make the same mistakes that I did. Because I did something that I'm very not proud of in 2021. But it really opened my eyes in a lot of ways. So I'm kind of glad that the experience happened, but at the same time it was hands down one of the stupidest decisions I have ever made in my entire life. But at least now it's one of those things where it's like, okay, I survived, I lived to tell the tale, so at least now I can, share my tale with the rest of the world, and hopefully you guys won't make the same mistakes that I made. So, wow, that's a nasty split. So, earlier this year, for the first time in my entire life, I took marijuana. Yes, and I know, that may be surprising to some of you guys, because you guys know I like to joke about shit a lot, I joke about doing cocaine all the time, but, I don't actually do, pretty much any drugs for the most part. I mean, with the exception of caffeine, obviously, because caffeine is awesome. But, I don't really fuck around with hardcore drugs, at all. At all, ever. I'm the last person you'd expect to, do shit like that. I'll have an alcoholic beverage every once in a while, but I only have, a couple. I never drink with the intent of getting drunk. I drink beverages for two reasons. One, either because I like the taste. Either simply because I like the taste. Oh, that was close. Yeah, but I drink beverages for two reasons. Either because I like the taste, or because I, obviously because I'm thirsty. So, I mean, I do, again, have an alcoholic beverage every once in a while, but, again, I never drink to get drunk. I've literally never been drunk in my entire life. But, yes, for the first time in my life, earlier this year, I took marijuana, and I want to tell you guys about that experience, because that has radically changed my views on marijuana. In the past, I've been 100% open to 100% legalizing marijuana and shit like that. And I have to say, now that I took it for the first time, I 100% understand why marijuana has been illegal for so long. I 100% understand why it's been illegal for so long. Because that was one of the most fucked up experiences I've ever had in my entire life. So let me tell you guys a little bit about it. So I work with some people who are, very much so into marijuana. Literally, I have people come into work that I work with, some of my coworkers. Doesn't make them bad people. I want to make that abundantly clear. Just because you use drugs, I don't think that makes you a bad person necessarily. I think it makes you a little bit misguided, but I don't think it necessarily makes you a bad person. Again, I want to make that abundantly clear. We all have our vices to a certain point. Gaming is my vice. I'll be the first one to admit it. Most people would probably, classify me as a video game addict, but I don't give a shit because it's fun, So trust me, I get it. But, yeah, I work with people who, literally will come into work and be and literally come up to me and be like, hey, do I smell like weed? Because, obviously they don't want to smell like weed in front of the boss, obviously, but yeah, so I work with a couple of people who, really wanted me to try it, just once. And I'm I was obviously very apprehensive about it. I'm You know, like, So I eventually gave in. I'm like, all right, I'll give in to the peer pressure. You know, it probably won't be that bad if I do just a little bit. And holy shit, I was wrong. I was dead wrong. So it was on my day off, right? My two coworkers came to pick me up, right? And I was initially told that the person who was going to be driving us around was going to be sober, right? And that turned out to be a lie. So my one friend, the one who wasn't driving, he was already, before we even began this little adventure of ours, he was already, like, not only high, but also drunk before we began. And the one who was driving us, I was told that she was going to be sober the whole time. And it turned out she was not sober the whole time. I found that out shortly after we began our little car ride. So they started off the car ride, right? They give me this little gummy, right? This little, you know, tiny little marijuana edible thing, you know. Again, probably sound like a fucking prude right now, but, you know, whatever. Don't give a shit. But anyway, so they gave me this tiny little gummy edible, right? Tiny little thing, not that big, right? I mean, not much bigger than a Starburst. Actually, probably smaller than a Starburst. And so, you know, I ate it, and let me tell you, it was the nastiest fucking shit I've ever eaten. It literally tasted like a pile of, like a skunk took a skunk shit on a pile of shit. It tasted nasty. It was one of the nastiest fucking things I've ever fucking put into my body, like, ever. So, I was hoping I would get that. So yeah, I ate the gummy. They told me afterwards, they're like, yeah, the gummy was about 50 milligrams. And I'm like, okay, that doesn't really sound like much, you know, like 50 milligrams, okay, whatever. You know, I figured it would just get me to feel a little bit relaxed or whatever. That's kind of what I figured. And I'm going to be honest, for like the first like hour and a half that we were hanging out, I didn't really feel anything. I was like, okay, I feel normal, you know, I don't really feel anything. It's like, okay. You know, at first I thought it was nothing, because I didn't feel anything at first. So I'm like, okay, yeah, I got this. And so at one point we went to one of their cousins' houses in this, like, slightly less than desirable neighborhood. I mean, not like a terrible neighborhood, but like, you know, not, you know, as good of a neighborhood as I'm used to being in. And her cousin's house is like this old-ass fucking house. I mean, just old fucking house. Like, had to have been from, like, the early, I swear to God, early 1900s. It was like something out of a fucking horror movie. So I was a little bit apprehensive, you know, when we were there or whatever. Especially because we kind of just showed up uninvited, you know. Like, just kind of popped in there. And, like, you know, both of them are, like, you know, pretty blitzed, you know, pretty high and stuff like that. And, yeah, and that's, at that house, that's when I started to feel something, you know, with the whole, like, you know, marijuana thing. I started to feel it take effect when we were there, kind of. I started to feel a little bit off, you know. Nice. And so then her cousin came home at some point. So then we ended up leaving. I don't remember exactly why we went there in the first place. Because again, I was a little bit out of it at this point. But I think it had something to do with having to feed her cousin's dog or something. Something like that. And then I don't remember exactly what happened after that. Because I was conscious of everything that was going on for the most part. I remember we went to, I want to say it was, I want to say Jewel Osco. I want to say there was like some kind of like Starbucks in there or something. I'm going to talk a little bit towards the end of this here. So if you guys are just here for the, you know, just here to watch the bowling action, you can go ahead and just stop watching now. I'm going to continue talking. But, yeah, so we went to like a Jewel Osco or something. I think. and there was like a Starbucks inside of the store, I think, or something like that. I could be wrong about this. I don't remember the exact details. There was some kind of coffee thing. And at this point, I was feeling it hardcore. Like, the marijuana, it was like something flipped a switch, and I, like, could not think clearly at all. I was super dizzy and just completely fucked up at this point. Like, after, you know, we got done at her cousin's house, it was like something flipped a switch. And, like, I couldn't even, like, form a coherent thought in my brain. Like, my brain was just a gigantic jumbled mess of, like, a million different thoughts all happening at the same time. And it was freaking me out, honestly. Like, I was, like, tweaking hardcore, okay? And so I'm, like, freaking out because I'm like, oh, shit, you know? Like, I can't even fucking think clearly. Like, this is bad, you know? And I had enough, you know, presence of mind to realize that this situation that I put myself in was a dangerous situation. I'm being driven around by someone, and here's the thing. I took one of those gummies, one 50 milligram gummy, one tiny little gummy. The two of them, the two of my coworkers that I was with, they took like 3 or 4 of these things. I took one, and I was this fucked up from just 50 milligrams worth of marijuana. And they took like 3 or 4 of these things, maybe even 5. And I'm like, and I had the presence of mind to realize, I'm like, oh my God, I'm this fucked up from one gummy. I'm being driven around by some idiot who took 4 of these things. I'm like, shit. So that freaked me out even more. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to die. I literally thought I was going to die that day. I literally thought, I'm like, oh my God, we're going to get in a car crash. I'm going to fucking die. I was completely terrified. On the outside, I tried to remain calm, you know, obviously. I tried to play it off as like, oh yeah, I'm good, you know. But in my mind, I was freaking out. Just absolutely freaking out. I could barely form a coherent thought, but I still had the presence of mind to realize that the situation I was in was incredibly dangerous. So it just absolutely freaked me out, and I'm just still fucked up, you know, from the marijuana, completely dizzy. I barely know what's going on at this point. And so I remember wandering around the store at some point. I remember my one friend, the one who was driving us around, was saying, she's like, whoa. She's like, the floor and the ceiling just switched or something like that. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to fucking die. I thought to myself, I'm like, oh my God, this is it. I'm going to fucking die. You know, and again, I'm still fucked up at this point. I can barely form a coherent thought, but I still somehow had the presence of mind to realize what was going on. But even I was like, you know, dizzy. I felt like I was not even walking in a straight line, you know. I wasn't hallucinating necessarily or anything, but like I was still like extremely just messed up, you know. More than anything, it almost kind of felt like I was sick. So, and that right there, when she made that comment, that was the point when I really started freaking out, because I'm like, oh my God, I'm being driven around by this person. Like, she's going to crash her car, and I'm going to fucking die. I literally thought I was going to die. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to fucking die. 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 You know, I just kept telling myself that over and over and over again, because there was like a million different thoughts all going on in my head at the same time. Like, literally, you know how there's one voice in your head, right? Typically. There was like 1,000 voices in my head all happening at the same time. And it was the weirdest fucking shit. And I just hated it because I couldn't fucking think straight. Like, I would try to form a coherent thought, and I just couldn't. Like, at one point, I think after we went to that store, we went to some kind of, I swear to God, one of like the weirdest, most shadiest like ice cream places I have ever been to. It was like some kind of like Mexican ice cream place or some weird shit like that. Like, they asked me if I wanted anything, and I felt so stupid because I couldn't fucking... That's the main thing about, like, that whole experience, is that the marijuana just made me feel stupid. Like, I couldn't form a coherent fucking thought to save my life. And so, like, you know, they asked me if I wanted anything, and I'm just like, I'll just have one of what he's having, or something like that, because one of my other friends ordered something. And literally, that's the best I could come up with, because I couldn't fucking think. You know, and it made me feel like a complete fucking idiot. But eventually, at some point, you know, because all this is, like, I was conscious the whole time. I was aware of what was going on the whole time. But at the same time, I was still kind of out of it. So eventually they brought me home, you know. And I'm like, whew, okay. Got to try to act normal in front of my dad now, you know. So I walk in. I managed to do that pretty well, you know. Let the dogs out. And it was weird because once I got home, you know, it made me feel a lot better. I'm like, okay, I'm home. I'm alive. I survived. Now I just need to sleep this off, you know? So I let my dogs out, and it was weird because it just felt like time was skipping from one moment to the next. You know how there's like a constant stream of time that you can conceive. You know, you can conceive time pretty consistently. It was weird because it felt like I was just jumping from one moment to the next, and it was just the just weirdest thing, you know? But I can honestly say beyond a doubt, basically before I say that, after after I got home and let my dogs out, I literally went straight to bed. I'm like, I need to just sleep this shit out of my system, you know? Like, I need to just fucking sleep. So I put on some TV or something and just passed out. I swear to God, I passed out until, like, the next fucking day, you know? But I can honestly say beyond a doubt that that was one of the stupidest things I have ever done. Maybe even the stupidest thing I was ever done. I was completely terrified out of my mind. And keep in mind, 50 milligrams. That's all it took. That's all it fucking took. 50 milligrams. One tiny little gummy. That's all it fucking took. I can honestly say beyond a shadow of a doubt that that was one of the most terrifying experiences of my life. Absolutely terrifying. Because I still had the presence of mind to realize that the situation I'd put myself in was extremely dangerous. Because I'm being driven around by this person who took like 4 times the amount of fucking marijuana that I took. You know? I was terrified because I literally thought I was going to die. That's how fucking scary it was. Like a million fucking voices in my head. I couldn't fucking form a coherent thought. I could barely, if at all, even walk a straight line. I was just absolutely fucking terrified the entire time. So please, I ask you guys to please learn from my mistakes. Never, ever go anywhere near that shit. Ever. I implore you guys. I wanted to do it once just to say, oh yeah, look at me, I did marijuana. But trust me, it is not worth it. At all. I will say this though. If you ever do decide to do it at any point, for the love of God, just do it yourself at home. In a controlled environment. You know, if you ever want to just do it just to see what the effects are or whatever. Like, do it at home alone. Do not go out with friends and drive around with, you know, friends who are like 4 times as high as you are. Like, because that was, honest to God, one of the most terrifying experiences of my entire life. I can honestly say beyond a doubt. But honestly, I feel like it would just be better never to touch that shit again. Honestly, I don't even get why people enjoy that. Like, why do people enjoy feeling like that? I felt dizzy. I felt stupid. I couldn't even form a coherent thought. It was stupid. The whole experience was just honestly fucking stupid. More than anything. Like, I don't fucking understand why people actually enjoy feeling like that. It's just fucking stupid. So, I wanted to share this story with you guys today. Because I'm not very proud of that at all. That was hands down one of the dumbest decisions I've ever made in my entire life. And I, for one, will never be going anywhere near that shit ever again. I will never fucking touch marijuana ever again. That shit is fucked up. And it, honestly, I think it should be illegal. Like, honestly. But I get that making it illegal doesn't necessarily stop people from getting it, so I understand, you know. But at the same time, now I 100% understand why, in the past, marijuana has been illegal. I don't necessarily believe in the war on drugs, and I believe in freedom as much as the next guy. Don't get me wrong. I mean, the war on drugs has been a spectacular failure from day one. It's like prohibition all over again. Like, it just doesn't work. But I implore you guys to never go anywhere near that shit. That was one of the most terrifying experiences I've ever had. And if you guys can learn from me, please learn from me. Like, don't ever fucking do that shit. First of all, if you think that you're going to enjoy it, chances are you're probably not going to enjoy it. I thought it was just going to mellow me out or whatever, but it completely made me freak out. Like, it scared the shit out of me. I would never, ever, I implore you guys to never, ever go anywhere near that shit. Marijuana is nasty fucking shit. If you want to have a drink here or there, that's cool. I'm not going to say shit about that, but I implore you guys to never, ever, ever go anywhere near marijuana. I wanted to share my story with you guys because, again, I want you guys to learn from my mistakes. If you've ever thought, maybe I'd want to try marijuana just once or something, don't do it. Don't bother. It's, honestly, there's nothing enjoyable about it at all. It literally makes you feel sick. You can't form a fucking coherent thought. It's dumb. I have no fucking idea why people enjoy feeling like that. It's fucking stupid. And that's the thing about it, is that it makes you feel stupid. So again, I implore you guys to please learn from my mistake. That was one of the, hands down, one of the stupidest things I've ever fucking done in my entire life. Ever done. And I have no intention of ever doing that shit ever again. Because again, I have never been that terrified. I don't know if I've ever been that terrified in my entire life. That was a genuine, and again, I don't get genuinely terrified very often, but I was genuinely terrified. I wasn't just scared. I was completely terrified of that situation that I put myself in. It's 100% stupid on my part. I'm not proud of it. And yeah, but I will say this. I am glad that the experience happened because now I know better. Now I know to never do that shit again. What they say, right? It's true. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And I was really lucky that experience did not kill me. Because it very well could have. Again, being driven around by someone who's 4 times as high as I am, that situation could very well have killed me. We could have very well gotten in a car crash and I could have gotten seriously injured or killed. That was hands down one of the stupidest fucking things I have ever done in my entire life, and I can say beyond a shadow of a doubt, I don't want to go anywhere. I do not want to go anywhere near that shit ever again. Ever again. And again, I implore you guys, please learn from my mistake. Do not ever go anywhere near marijuana. Anyone ever offers it to you, just say no. I know they tell you that in school, but it's true. It is absolutely true what they tell you in school. 100 fucking % true what they tell you in school. Do not ever go anywhere near that shit. Anyone offers it to you, say no. And again, at the end of the day, I'm not going to tell you guys how to live your lives. All I can do is tell you about my experience. And I can honestly say it's messed up shit. It's messed up shit. So yeah, stay away from that shit. That's messed up shit. Again, I'm not a complete prude. You know, I'll have an alcoholic beverage here or there, but I don't do it with the intent of getting drunk. You know, I'll have a drink or two and then call it quits. You know, just enough alcohol to, help take the edge off. If used responsibly, alcohol can be a good thing. You know, it can help take the edge off just a little bit. But you don't ever drink the shit to get drunk. So, yeah, it's just, I cannot stress this enough. I really can't. Because, again, it was one of the most terrifying things I've ever experienced. Do not ever go anywhere near marijuana. Please, I implore all of you out there watching this video, do not make the same mistake that I made. Because, again, that was genuinely one of the most terrifying experiences of my entire life. And I have no intention of ever going anywhere near that shit again. You know, and I've been lucky that, I found this hobby of gaming, because for the most part it has kept me away from, this hobby of mine, focusing on gaming and focusing on this YouTube channel has, kept me away from drugs for the most part, and I wanted to, the reason why I did it in the first place is just because I was like, I wanted to try it just for shits and grins, and that was one of the stupidest things I have ever fucking done. One of the stupidest decisions I have ever fucking made in my entire life. So again, I wanted to share that story with you guys just as a cautionary tale. If you're ever thinking about it, just don't do it. Just don't fucking do it. It is not worth it. It is not an enjoyable experience. And I cannot stress that enough. Alright. Well, either way, that's really all I have to say. I know I don't get serious with you guys very often on this YouTube channel. As you guys know, I like to joke around. I like to have fun, all that good shit. But every once in a while, I do need to, get serious with you guys. And, again, I wanted to share that story with you guys to, hopefully, warn anyone out there who's, even thinking about doing that shit. Just don't do it. Just don't do it. All right. Well, either way, guys, that will do it for that one. So stay tuned for the next part of this game. And until then, peace out.